What works is energy security increasingly since the Russia-Ukraine war. And similarly, if you talk to people about what roles do you want to do, yes, they will mention purpose, and environmental purpose is up there, but it really comes far behind job security. It comes behind wages, it comes behind working conditions. And I think particularly, we came up with the green jobs as a concept, or it gained prominence during the COVID pandemic, when we were really worried that employment was going to fall through the floor, and we were going to have a lot of people we needed to move into new jobs, potentially that were going to be backed by the state. Now, unemployment didn't rise as much as we were worried about, which is fantastic news. But also a number of government's flagship green jobs programmes. So you think about Northvolt, the battery manufacturer in the northeast of England. Government really sold that would come, that would bring a lot of jobs, and it didn't. And you talk to the public now, and what they will say is green jobs, actually, they're a political gimmick.
So you've opened up beautifully to a question that Smita Biswas from Impact Lead has asked, and they ask, how do we ensure women don't, which you've touched on obviously in the STEM area, but obviously other areas, how do we ensure women don't get left behind in the green jobs revolution? And in developing countries, how do we ensure a just transition where the informal sector poor can also benefit from the green jobs revolution?
Can I just ask, when you go out to schools, you're talking about jobs in the power sector, not green jobs, or are you talking about green jobs?
So it's a bit of both. So it's understanding the green jobs, like we've been talking before. It is a bit of a tumultuous term sometimes, right? So it has different connotations. So it's talking about where the future is in those green jobs and what we're doing within us, specifically in the power sector.
We just ran a big poll for the Printers Trust, which is young people's charity, on what are the career motivating factors for young people. And one interesting, like, security comes top, job security, absolutely, for all groups. It's especially so for women. There's about a 15-point lead on women prioritising security in their work. And that's because young people know that they know there's a gender pay gap. They know that they might have to potentially take a hit at some point. And they want to be cautious, they want to make the right choice for them. So the question for the power sector is, in trying to attract women, is it a different problem that you're facing than anyone else? Probably not. Talk about security, talk about the level of play, talk about your maternity conditions and the potential flexibility to move into other roles or shift your role or shift your working patterns. This is how we get people into these roles.
Yeah. And can I just add, politically, I think there's a real need to talk about good quality unionised jobs as well, because it's not surprising that the GMB and other unions are kind of concerned about the transition. You see what's happening in Port Talbot with the steel. You need to make the narrative that these are going to be good unionised jobs to replace.
Is the government listening to that type of argument? The government is at war with a number of unions across all sorts of sectors at the moment.
Yeah, but the government's worked well with the unions sometimes, didn't it, during the pandemic, but I don't think it's hearing very strongly. It didn't work with the unions before Port Talbot lost its jobs, which it should have done.
But I'd also be saying to GMB, why are you not working harder to unionise those new sectors? You need to move off need to definitely protect your existing members. There's a whole future of other members that you need to be trying to unionise.
Yeah, don't be king.
Exactly.
It's that classic 20th century model they still keep trying to apply to a 21st century world, which is a problem for so many sectors and so many parts of this discussion.
I'm a governor at a state school up the road, and we are trying to work through how do we bring the kids on a journey to a net zero school? What does being net zero in a London state school look like? First thing that will make a teacher's eyes roll over faster than you can imagine is talking about changing the curriculum. Yeah, sure. It's a really easy lever for policymakers to go, we'll just change the curriculum. We can put more stuff in. And they go, OK, so they want us to do this extra thing, but where are you going to fit that in my day? I'm already working X number of hours, everything is complete, quick, let's bung it in PSHE and hope they don't notice. I would say there's a big role. So DfE have the Department for Education in the UK, they have a sustainability strategy. And a lot of that is about how schools deal with their waste, how they get their energy. And there's a small section on what they should be teaching. But we do need to go back to the drawing board. And there's some fantastic organisations out there at UCL, Centre for Sustainability, Fed Education, going, OK, what does climate change integrated across the syllabus look like? Rather than going, it is an extra thing that we need to cram in. We need to be teaching it as an aspect of history and how governments have fallen. We need to be teaching it in geography and in science. But it's also about the way we teach those subjects. So a Bunsen burner it's not the best example of ways that we want to talk about the transition in engineering and industrial strategy. And I think the final piece on that I say is we can't just teach people about the problem. We need to equip young people with skills that they can apply to that problem to try and solve it. And that's where education does need fundamental reform, is those skills are the same.